NCIS. I may take you up on that offer.
Are you messing with me?
If you give her the chance, she will win again.
You want something. You always do.
If you have to ask, you're not as smart as I thought you were.
Can you get it done fast?
NCIS universe heats up, new plot twists and nostalgic returns. As excitement builds for the upcoming NCIS, Tony and Ziva spin-off on Paramount+, fans are eager to see their beloved characters back in action, albeit in an unexpected timeline. Cote de Pablo has teased the series will kick off with an intriguing flashback, adding depth to their reunion. Meanwhile, NCIS Origins faces scrutiny as it raises yet another plot hole regarding Jackson's character, leaving fans wondering if these inconsistencies can ever be resolved. At Mipcom 2024, the spotlight shone brightly on NCIS, with industry insiders discussing the current challenges in scripted programming amidst a downturn. Key takeaways reveal the shift towards nostalgia, emphasizing the enduring popularity of franchises like NCIS. As these developments unfold, viewers are left on the edge of their seats, eager to see how the beloved franchise navigates its complex past while forging new narratives. Don't miss out, stay tuned for the full story. Hey, lovely viewers, welcome to our channel Shows Update. NCIS Origins creates another Jackson plot hole before it can even solve his appearance inconsistency. NCIS Origins has created a Jackson Gibbs plot hole before it can even explain his questionable involvement. Jackson, played by Robert Taylor, is one of several pre-existing NCIS characters to appear in the spin-off. He appears in a supportive role, as he tries to help his son, Austin Stoll's Leroy Jethro Gibbs, heal following the death of his wife and daughter. As NCIS established, it is clear that Jackson and Gibbs have a weak relationship, but NCIS also said that the characters had no relationship at all, which is not true in the prequel. As NCIS has existed for over 20 years, a lot of Gibbs' life has already been revealed in the flagship series. NCIS Origins follows Gibbs' life in the early 1990s, and while it has tried to remain true to established storylines in NCIS, it has also formed several inconsistencies, with Jackson's appearance being the main one. As Jackson is a significant character in Gibbs' life, it makes sense that NCIS Origins would include him. If only the original show didn't establish that at this point in time, the pair had no contact. NCIS Origins hasn't explained how Jackson is in the prequel despite canon. Jackson and Gibbs supposedly had a falling out months ago. Jackson has been a recurring character on NCIS Origins so far, but according to NCIS and Mark Harmon's Gibbs, Jackson and his son are not supposed to have spoken to each other since Shannon and Kelly's funeral. Jackson first appeared in NCIS Season 6, and it was then that Gibbs revealed they had not talked to his dad in 15 years. The tension in Season 6, Episode 4, when Gibbs and his dad reunited, was strong and awkward, and it was clear that Gibbs held some feelings of resentment. However, this is not the relationship that is shown in NCIS Origins. Tensions are still high between the two men in the first few episodes of NCIS Origins, but it is clear that Gibbs' father cares deeply about him, and that the two still have a relationship following the funerals. Jackson's concern for his son is especially revealed when he asks Gibbs to move back home with him and when he saves Shannon's mementos from the trash. Their bond may be strenuous, but their relationship seems more complex than NCIS revealed. NCIS Origins Episode 3 establishes that Jackson and Franks knew each other, despite NCIS. Jackson and Franks share a history besides the inconsistencies in Jackson and Gibbs' relationship. NCIS Origins has also introduced an inconsistency between Mike Franks and Jackson. The two characters supposedly met in NCIS Season 8, Episode 1, when Gibbs and his loved ones were being targeted by serial killer Paloma Reynosa as revenge killings. Gibbs and the rest of the NCIS team worked together with Mike Franks to do whatever they could to save Jackson and others in time. However, NCIS Origins has revealed that Franks and Jackson knew each other all along. NCIS Origins Episode 3 revealed that the two characters have encountered each other before. The revelation happened when Jackson went to Frank's house to try and get him to fire Gibbs. Jackson was worried that his son would use being on the field to fulfill his death wish, and he insisted that Franks remove him from the team. While this did not happen, it did show the extent of both Jackson's and Frank's care for Gibbs. Will Jackson Gibbs still return in NCIS Origins? The prequel has hinted that it is possible the final moments of NCIS Origins Episode 3 saw Jackson leaving, presumably to go back home to Stillwater, after he failed to persuade Gibbs to come back with him. However, on the way back, he also asked his cab driver to make a pit stop, and Jackson was later shown saving the box of Shannon and Gibbs' list of rules from the garbage. Since Gibbs' box is in his possession in NCIS, it can safely be assumed that Jackson will get it back to Gibbs at some point during NCIS Origins. It is unsure yet whether Jackson will return to the prequel, but his possession of the box of rules does make a small appearance possible. However, given Gibbs and Jackson's strenuous relationship, it is unlikely that Jackson will return to a big role. Moving aside from the inconsistencies in their relationship between NCIS and NCIS Origins, their struggles are still present in both. Besides, the flagship did establish that the two had practically no relationship by the time NCIS Season 6 happened. NCIS Tony and Ziva spin-off to start with Flashback as Cote de Pablo explains reason. NCIS Tony and Ziva is set to be released on Paramount Plus and will see the fan-favorite characters back on screens, but the show will be set at an unexpected time. The NCIS stars behind Tony DiNozzo and Ziva David have finally spilled the beans on the timeline for their much-anticipated spin-off, and it's not exactly what fans expected. As CBS rolls out NCIS Season 22 with its inaugural prequel series NCIS Origins, which retells the origin story of Leroy Gibbs, portrayed by Austin Stoll, as a budding agent, anticipation is bubbling over for even more backstory goodness with the upcoming drama entitled NCIS, Tony and Ziva. And even though the main action of the spin-off unfolds in the modern day, the narrative won't kick off from that point. Instead, the journey begins from a pivotal moment, Ziva faking her death and Tony's departure with their daughter Tali to Paris, which happened more than a decade ago. NCIS Tony DiNozzo and Ziva David stars Michael Weatherly and Cote de Pablo. Image, Getty. This revelation came to light during Mipcom panel discussions, where Cote de Pablo expressed, "We haven't seen these characters since 2013 and I think the fans have always wanted to see what happened between them. In our first season, they're going to get a fix of what has happened." By journeying back more than a decade, NCIS, Tony and Ziva aims to unravel the mystery surrounding Tony and Ziva's lives post-departure from the original series. Mipcom Insider, 5 key takeaways from Can Squeezed Scripted, Nostalgia and NCIS in Spotlight. There has been plenty of fat to chew on this week at Mipcom in Cannes. The television industry is clearing a path forwards after a very difficult few years, and that route became clearer during the 4-day confab. Below, we identify some of the key takeaways from the Croisette. Squeezed middle in scripted. Conversations about the future of TV drama almost a year after the U.S. strikes ended dominated chatter at this year's Mipcom. What was being communicated to us was an extension of the squeezed middle chat that dominated conversation in Edinburgh a few weeks ago. That confab's chatter was focused on non-scripted, but these proclamations were concentrated on drama. Effectively, buyers are still looking for the odd splashy tentpole, maybe a buzzy limited series here and there, but are mainly beefing up catalogs with cheaper, higher volume, bankable and returnable fare. Our deadline hot ones highlighted the current penchant for procedurals as we entered the market, and on and off-record chatter over the past 4 days backed this up. What is nice is there was this disdain for procedurals and now people are saying, you know what, the audience enjoys them and we should make new procedurals, said Warner Brothers TV. Chair Channing Dungey, who also talked up the creative discipline required to make them. The trend could also be seen in two of the market's most talked about shows, Paramount's NCIS spin-offs Origins and Tony and Ziva, which were heavily advertised across the Paleta festivals and attracted attendees to one of the most fun sessions with franchise stars Cote de Pablo and Michael Weatherly. This buzz will likely will out in some of the sales coming out of the market and could already be seen in deals we broke on cozy crime shows like Cineflix's Whitstable Pearl, while we revealed the BBC's Dr. Foster and France's High Intellectual Potential were the top-selling scripted formats of the past 18 months. The in-between is hard to rationalize, a US exec from a streamer told us, comparing the trend to what happened early last decade after the 2007 to 2008 labor strikes. This is about ordering, keeping the lights on heat shows and mitigating risk. The exec, and many others, echoed Dungey's notion that prioritizing shows that keep the dial moving is no bad thing, and many producers told us they at least felt a semblance of buyer strategy now appears to be in place. Dungey pointed to a TV industry still grappling with fundamental changes brought on by the turmoil of the past few years, but the sector feels up to the challenge. They used to sell, then they warehoused it all for their streaming services, now they're selling again. The Hollywood studios were shopping their wares to buyers at Mipcom, with Paramount Global Content Distribution notably putting its weight behind the market. That's understandable given NCIS, which has generated $4.5 billion for the studio. NCIS stars De Pablo and Weatherly pressed the flesh with buyers and joined Paramount Global Content Distribution boss Dan Cohen on stage, while the SpongeBob SquarePants voice crew joined in to provide more light relief. Talent can sometimes look like they're dialing it in when doing promo activities, but these folk seem to genuinely enjoy talking up their new show. Disney had a big stand in the Palais, and it was the Mouse House that made its windowing strategy the most present via a panel with EMEA chief Diego Londano. Fox had a visible presence, while NBCU used the market to get behind the wall, which it is relaunching internationally. One of the interesting wrinkles of Mipcom 2024 was a major streamer selling international on its shows as Amazon MGM set up shop. Nestled inside the Palais, it was selling series including Earth Abides, but also movies from the fast-growing Prime Video lineup. Few were laboring under the intention that American buyers are spending big on originals again, mind. One senior U.S. producer, who makes shows around the world, said in the past projects were being 80% funded by Americans with Europeans making up the other 20%, but this figure feels like it has reversed. He noted that more and more European shows are emerging that have previously been turned down by U.S. buyers. Italian producer Luca Bernabai told us Americans are learning from Europeans in how to keep costs down. Those strike ripples are still very much being felt. In an era of risk reticence, it was notable how nostalgia ruled the market. Studios were leaning heavily into their well-loved brands. Warner Bros. Discovery's big formats were a Harry Potter baking competition and a Friends game show, to chalk up sales, while board game adaptations were a big deal. Mattel announced it had sold a televersion of Pictionary to British broadcaster ITV, while Talpa Studios and Hasbro joined forces to adapt Trivial Pursuit. One of the bigger formats under the spotlight was Stranded on Honeymoon Island, our global breakout from Monday, which has already sold to the BBC and Australia's Channel 7, and there is talk that a US deal is close, a reminder that the dating genre rarely goes out of fashion. Execs were mixed on the frequency with which big players like the BBC are now buying shows that have launched successfully in smaller territories rather than commissioning off paper, especially given we are in the era of fewer, bigger, better. Unsurprisingly, The Traitors is still making waves. One unscripted sales exec estimated that around 80% of format pitches at the famous The Wit pitching session had some element of the hit mystery game show in them. However, if repurposing loved brands or buying formats from smaller territories is not viable, there's always the trusted reboot. BBC Studios adorned the front of the palette with a giant weakest link poster, marketing the show to buyers like it was the year 2000. That Sony Pictures Television has managed to get So You Think You Can Dance back on air in Poland after nearly a decade is simply more grist for an increasingly nostalgic mill. Industry cautiously optimistic but can a tad quieter. Maybe it was because the sun never stopped shining, but there was a feeling of cautious optimism about the state of the industry at this year's market. The sense there is light at the end of the tunnel was communicated to us by numerous sources, and while things are of course still highly challenging, strategies felt more secure. Last year's Mipcom also had the specter of October 7th hanging over it, with ramped-up security around the palette and the fallout being felt from such a devastating day. Attendance this year was slightly down on 2023, however. "I wasn't bumping and weaving my way between meetings," was how one Canadian executive described footfall on La Croisette. The lower numbers, down nearly 5% to 10,500 from 2023, were perhaps a surprise given that MIPTV will not take place in Cannes next year and that some top U.S. executives, including Sony chief Tony Vinciquerra, made the flight over the Atlantic. Mipcom boss Lucy Smith put the lower numbers down to companies sending slightly smaller delegations, some of which made their decision late in the day. Some super indie stands were slightly smaller, while there was arguably little less star power than 2023 when Andrea Riseborough and Domhnall Gleeson came to town. Poirot himself, David Suchet, might disagree as he was mobbed in the streets by execs and locals, more on that below. TV executives cited numerous factors for the slightly quieter year, including tight budgets, the rise of rival events including Content London, and the always-on nature of video call meetings following the pandemic. However, the plethora of Monday night cocktail parties were as ever packed and the famous Booze Alley was replete with attendees chattering late into the night and early into the morning. Mipcom's life force remains, but the market is, as ever, always changing. Mipcom is a program sales event, so no surprise there was a flurry of news from buyers and sellers, and some new projects coming to market too. Halfway through proceedings, Deadline broke the news of Underbelly, a twisty new drama with soon-to-be Suits L.A., stars Stephen Amell, Minnie Driver and more, from Murdoch mystery production house Shaftesbury. In keeping with the playing it safe theme, cozy crime fared well, while the daddy of all procedurals, NCIS, put in a solid showing. Studio Canal's Paris Has Fallen went to Hulu, per our scoop at the start of the week. Banijay was the most prominent of the international distributors and got away an Indian version of U.S. procedural Monk as part of its formats deal with NBC Universal. Other format news included an India sale for Buy It Now, the entrepreneur format from the Traders Maker studio Lambert. Newbie distributor Sphere Abacus had David Suchet with them in Cannes, and although the Poirot star had lost his voice, he was out on the town and talking to the international set. His show, Travels with Agatha Christie with Sir David Suchet, accordingly landed deals. Beta Film was also out in force, with talent from its epic Euro drama Rise of the Raven in Cannes and pre-selling the show this week. On the docs front, Fremantle landed rights to My Life as Roger Moore about the iconic Bond actor. Turkish sales companies put on a show, with global agency, ATV, Intermedia and Kanal D all welcoming talent from their big series, adding some Turkish star power to Cannes. Mipcom 2024 debates U.S. costs, how to navigate the downturn as the NCIS grabs the spotlight. Welcoming a bevy of stars, led by NCIS, Cote de Pablo and Michael Weatherly, talking up spin-off, NCIS, Tony and Ziva, and some big new shows, such as Rise of the Raven, a sword and mace epic. Can Mipcom Confab hit its final straights Wednesday evening, announcing 10,500 delegates in attendance. That's down some 500 from 2023's edition, but still makes Mipcom the biggest TV sales and production market in the world. And the wheels of business are still turning. The market is definitely picking up, and deals are being made. All our key buyers were here, although the Asian presence was a bit soft. Mipcom is definitely the biggest fall market for us, said Helene Aro, Sales and Marketing Director at reInvent, Scandinavia's biggest international TV distributor. Despite massive attendance, however, the event also registered multiple strains in the TV business, sparked by a saturation of shows and investor backlash as it looks set for yet another reconfiguration post-peak TV. Is the US pricing itself out of business? Tony Vinciquerra, Sony Pictures Entertainment CEO, said so as he received the Variety Vanguard Award, arguing that the union deals that halted the Hollywood strikes are forcing production out of the US to countries or regions with lower-cost crews and shoot incentives. "We tried to talk to the unions about what we thought would happen, and now it is happening," he said. He's not alone. Runaway Productions stepped up as major European countries introduced tax rebates for foreign shoots, France from 2009, Spain from 2015. New union contracts have accelerated that trend, agreed Guy Bisson at Ampere Analysis. The broadcastification of streaming. It is absolutely no coincidence or serendipity that Paramount Plus used Mipcom to present the new spin-off from NCIS, as of 2022, the third longest-running primetime scripted franchise still on air in the US. Without advertising, streaming income will grow 27% between year-end of this year and 2029. With advertising it will grow by 46%, Ampere Analysis Guy Bisson forecast in his Mipcom wrap on Thursday. Advertising now is becoming central to the market story, and that is impacting content demand as well, with long-running crime or medical procedurals coming back in fashion because they keep people coming back week after week, Bisson told Variety at Mipcom. One thing's to sell, another is to sell well. The wheels of business are still turning. NBCU announced it had sold Eddie Redmayne thriller, The Day of the Jackal, to nearly 200 territories, Fremantle A Night Sleeper, to 148. The question, regarding many other sales, is at what price? This year's Mipcom, as markets before, was replete with horror stories of producers who have gone into production expecting platforms or established broadcasters to pay such an amount customary during the peak TV bubble, only to see these players now offering a minute fraction of that sum. Apart from on hot tickets, buying prices are very often falling short of distributors' original estimates. Costs bedevil production. Production budgets for premium scripted shows continue to rise as they battle to grab viewer attention with high production values and movie-quality VFX, as well as being based on established IP or with star talent attached in front of and behind the camera. Production costs in general are also rising, in part fueled by tax incentives and US shows coming to Europe to take advantage of them and the lower crew cost compared to the US. To plug the deficit, producers are splitting the rights within territories, inking separate deals for free TV and pay TV windows and pre-selling territory by territory. And one first-step solution, co-production. Drama budgets continue to rise as shows battle to grab eyeballs with high production values. The solution, co-production and other forms of collaboration. Fremantle's Jamie Lynn said, "There was a little bit too much pressure on the distributor in many cases, where we were handling the lion's share of the budget. We are going back to getting more partners on early with a rise in co-productions with the right partners." Rise Studios' Amanda Turnbull called for more collaboration. "You are seeing people being more pragmatic about splitting rights, so you can structure something where you have a streamer and a free-to-air partner. People are much more realistic about how that works." The golden age of unscripted. After being considered as a subgenre for decades, unscripted content has seen its profile rise through the pandemic and the Hollywood strikes as streamers and broadcasters look to fill slots deserted by scripted series and scale back their spending. With higher demand for unscripted, production value for these shows has also gone up. People have realized these shows could have that escapist value and enough drama to hook audiences, and they're cheaper to produce than scripted, said a veteran producer. In a market saturated with content where everyone is competing for eyeballs, formats, spin-offs and reboots are thriving. During Mipcom, Variety broke the news of The Traitors being adapted in South Korea and Last One Laughing being expanded into In Real Life by Amazon Prime in France. Elsewhere, Media One Rights and Studio Canal have brought to market new sports commentating talent contest, Hit the Mic. A new voice for sports, an early venture by Studio Canal into unscripted. Book-to-screen surge. While the route from book to screen is a well-trodden one, in recent years, the demand for literary IP has reached a fever pitch. Some of the biggest, buzziest scripted shows currently on TV began life on the pages of a novel, including Slow Horses, Shogun, A Perfect Couple, Fool Me Once, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, Presumed Innocent, and Alfonso Cuarón's Disclaimer, to name just a few, and fierce bidding wars are now erupting over books sometimes a year before they're published, or even finished. In the last couple of weeks, Liane Moriarty's latest, Here One Day, was snapped up by fifth season, with Nicole Kidman again attached to star, and Netflix has just commissioned another adaptation of A Pride and Prejudice. Meanwhile, Disney Plus launched Rivals to rapturous reviews. Could a Jilly Cooper multiverse be incoming? Navigating the downturn, lighter procedurals. Crime, in fact, was the order of the day at Mipcom. Or so sellers hoped. Of the 18 scripted series put forward by many of the biggest players outside the US, 8 were procedurals. But their tenor has changed. The Crow Girl might see a female Bristol police detective on the trail of a serial killer who dumps corpses in public thoroughfares, but part of her drama is her family, a hapless artist husband and comic home to just cold pizza at night. As crime adopts a lighter tone in global screens, Recipes for Love and Murder, foodie Tanny Maria mixes criminal investigation and cooking. In her Sherlock and Daughter, Sherlock confronts Moriarty with the aid of unexpected offspring. Blue Sky dramas. Seeking to hook far broader audiences, murder mystery dramas are heading south. Tom and Lola blends the procedural crime genre with compelling feel-good family elements, tapping into the current market demand for light crime narratives that offer a mix of humor and mystery, said Media One Rights of one of its biggest new Mipcom plays. It's also set in Aix-en-Provence, southern France. Equally, cop show Weiss and Morales, backed by public broadcasters ZDF in Germany and RTVE in Spain, offers not just blue sky but blue water, set in the stunning Canary Islands, with an aquamarine Atlantic Ocean consistently and attractively forefront in a promo. Top-tier scripted content is still in demand. Peak TV may be waning as streamers and TV channels have scaled down their spending, but top-tier scripted content is still in demand. All3 Media's CEO Jane Turton said during her fireside conversation with Variety's co-editor-in-chief Cynthia Littleton that the company, which is best known for The Traitors, was looking to ramp up their output in scripted, even if she admitted that it was highly competitive and challenging because audiences have become more sophisticated. Turton said, the announcements we'll be making over the next few months/years may well include quite a few scripted units and labels. Big European groups such as Media One and Studio Canal are also investing in tentpole English-language series. Media One fully financed The Count of Monte Cristo, directed by Billy August, while Studio Canal launched a label dedicated to big-budget shows such as Paris Has Fallen, which was just bought by Hulu, and they're looking to produce these kinds of ambitious shows more consistently going forward. Driving into English-language production. For several years now, even the most acclaimed producers with big Netflix hits have been finding it nearly impossible to place non-English language titles with big streamers or studios for the US, which is still by far the most valuable of markets. So other producers apart from Media One and Studio Canal are driving into English language production. Fremantle began in 2022, doubling UK production levels. At this Mipcom, Federation Studios offered 3 high-profile English-language titles: Sherlock and Daughter, starring David Thewlis, family drama thriller Jack Wright, and premium high-concept procedural A Curfew. The Media Pro Studio made most probably the biggest sale business announcement at Mipcom, revealing a powerful first English-language slate at the Media Pro Studio US and Canada. And Fremantle began to talk up Costiera, which seems to tick every box out, a crime thriller made in English, starring Jesse Williams, episodic, and set at a luxury hotel on Italy's gorgeous coast. The new nostalgia. With a huge poster for classic BBC Studios game show, The Weakest Link, beaming from the front of the Palais, you'd be forgiven for thinking Mipcom had skipped back in time a couple of decades. But this theme of relying on beloved, tried and tested IP, or rebooted, retweaked and reimagined versions of it, continued inside the market, where France TV was touting its upcoming Zorro series with Paramount Plus, starring Jean Dujardin in the lead role. And one of the new formats being sold was a game show from Warner Brothers about friends. Spain, powerhouse recognition. Spain's Country of Honor recognition prompted or coincided with a host of studies and stats confirming the country's emergence as a European TV powerhouse. Spain-originated content has generated an estimated $5.1 billion in global streaming revenue over the past 4 years, an ICEX/Parrot report estimated. At €1 billion, $1.1 billion, Spain ranked second in Europe, after the UK, in 2023 in global streamer investment on original content, according to a European Audiovisual Observatory report. Spain was the #1 country for non-English language originals in 2024, the WIT announced at Cannes. As global streamers are relying ever more on safe global languages, says Bisson. Spanish language orders skyrocketed 150% January-June 2024 compared to first half 2023, said Ampere Analysis. Spain repped the most popular Spanish language content on Netflix, accounting for 49% of the platform's Spanish language offerings, Omdia announced at Mipcom. In Europe, the global streamers aren't the only VOD act in town. Research organization Glance reported that the streaming platforms of the major European broadcasters now offer a deeper catalog online than the global streamers. In the UK, BBC's iPlayer has 10,000 shows viewed per day, up 2.5 times in 2 years, compared with Netflix with 4,800, Prime Video with 2,400 and Disney Plus with 900. The broadcasters' platforms are attracting a slightly younger audience than their linear services. The average age of ITV's linear service is 59 years old, while for VOD service ITVX it is 51, but the gap is narrowing. ITVX's average age has risen 4 years since 2023, while the average age of viewers of the linear service remains constant. And the wheels of business are still turning. Below, 20 or so of the biggest deals unveiled at 2024's Mipcom. The Media Pro Studios' Laura Fernandez Espiso and JC Acosta unveiled a powerful 8-title English-language slate which features John Turturro, Melissa Leo, 24, and The Floor Showrunners, an Oscar winner, Homeland, and The Handmaid's Tale executive producers, directors of Mafia Spies and Dear Lemon Lima, and novelist adapted in Palm Home Royale. Starring Eddie Redmayne and playing off heavyweight IP, The Day of the Jackal has been licensed to nearly 200 territories worldwide, NBC Universal Global TV distribution at Mipcom. Asterisk made by Euston Films, a Fremantle company, train set BBC One thriller A Night Sleeper, starring Alexandra Roach and Joe Cole, will launch in 147 countries around the world. A 90-country rollout is reckoned a smash hit. Signaling one of the biggest European packages to hit Monday's Mipcom, Mozart/Mozart, the latest big series swing from Germany's Storyhouse Pictures, behind Beta Film/RTL megahit CC, has been boarded by Germany's ARD and its Austrian public broadcaster counterpart ORF. Downton Abbey, alum Hugh Bonneville has joined espionage thriller The Agency at Showtime. Beta Film, Grupo Globo have signed a multi-year production partnership, kicked off with Discipline from the Esantonia team and Gennaro Studios. Anonymous Content has struck a partnership with Brouhaha Entertainment, the production banner behind Boy Swallows Universe, on a new joint venture in Australia and New Zealand. Leonine's Odeon Fiction, Patrick Nebout's new Dramination will co-produce English-language industry spoof and murder mystery, The Studio. Paramount Global has signed a multi-year volume deal with Qatar-based powerhouse BN Media Group. Beta Films thriller series, The Couple Next Door, commissioned by the UK's Channel 4 and Stars in North America, has secured major deals in more than 55 territories. Reinvent sold Finnish show The Girl Who Disappeared to Canal Plus France and Poland, while Canal Plus Poland also bought Reykjavik 112 and Powerplay was sold to Film Europe for the Czech Republic and Fatal Crossing licenses to Lumiere for Benelux. ZDF Studios and Black Box Multimedia are partnering to produce romantic comedy drama, The Little Italian Hotel. Last One Laughing is set for a real-life spin-off with hidden cameras at Prime Video France. Studio Canal partner Sam Productions has set a shoot date for Danish royal drama, By the Grace of God, and is prepping a Brita from Oborgen's Adam Price. Fremantle has sold Mozart, Rise of a Genius in first key territories as it begins to roll out the BBC doc. A Ken Burns Leonardo da Vinci series launched at Mipcom, with the UK's BBC, Germany's ZDF Arte and Sky New Zealand pre-buying the show. Banijay Rights has teamed with Banijay Iberia label Diagonal TV and Crescendo Media Production on the feature documentary, The Silence of the Earth. Rakuten TV unveiled enterprise services to help rights holders set up streaming apps, fast channels. ZDF Studios has boarded world sales on Illume, an eco-thriller set against the background of endemic wildfire devastation on the Portugal-Spain border. Emmy-winning The White Lotus executive producer David Bernard has teamed with German production company UFA to develop series Hotel Neptune. Taupo Studios, founded by The Voice and Big Brother creator John DeMol, has launched Trivial Pursuit, a quiz show format based on the Hasbro trivia game. Meanwhile, a TV show based on the Mattel game Pictionary was acquired by UK broadcaster ITV. Thanks for watching this videos. Please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up.